Tonight, tragedy strikes a Manitoba community racing to flee raging flames.
Emotionally and physically, I'm numb.
The now fatal threat.
Our profound sympathies at this news.
And a grim forecast for crews on the front line. When the government insists it will follow through on its middle-class tax cut.
It's my pleasure on behalf of the Cabinet to sign this order.
And is there consensus on energy projects in the pipeline? A BC mother demands accountability after her son's disturbing encounter.
He said a man took me to the basement and changed him in a closet.
Plus, why a stress buster for high schoolers is causing a headache for police. And celebrating an enduring legacy.
Her message continues to guide the next generation.
How a teacher's lessons live on more than a decade after her death.
CTV National News with Omar Sachedina.
Good evening. We begin tonight with the punishing and brutal wrath of nature and the start of a wildfire season that has already turned fatal. 2 people were found dead today, stranded by a raging fire in Manitoba. The bodies of a man and a woman were discovered about an hour northeast of Winnipeg in the small town of Lac de Bonnie, where firefighters are battling hot, dry conditions, and nearly 1,000 people were forced to flee and may not have a home to return to.
My neighbor who saved my life, Davy, she came and said that we were being evacuated. It's emotionally and physically I'm numb. I'm numb.
CTV's Alex Carpa now on the lives lost and the growing threat.
We were aware that these individuals had been trapped in the fire.
Tragic news out of Manitoba as the bodies of 2 people were recovered today near Lac de Bonnie as a wildfire continues to burn near the community.
Due to extreme conditions yesterday afternoon, emergency personnel were not able to reach the location until this morning.
RCMP saying they cannot confirm the identities of the victims until an autopsy is complete.
This has been an incredibly challenging time for the community, and no doubt today's tragic news will make it even more difficult.
At this time, police say there are no reports of unaccounted people related to the Lac de Bonnie fire.
We're a very close-knit community here, and certainly the family, friends, and loved ones that have been impacted by this have our profound sympathies at this news.
The fire situation in Manitoba is challenging right now. There are 24 active fires, 6 of which the province says needs a significant response. Provincial officials say firefighters are continuing to battle fires throughout Manitoba's southeastern region that has destroyed homes and cottages and prompted evacuation orders.
We have hot weather right now. We have dry conditions. We have had some very windy days, and we expect that to continue.
The province is urging Manitobans to stay away from areas where there are active fires.
We are very much in a live response type of situation where we're working to protect people, critical infrastructure, and property.
There is favorable weather on the way for parts of the province, including cooler weather and rain, but the province says it will not be enough to either extinguish the fires or make any difference. Alex Carpa, CTV News, Lac de Bonnie, Manitoba.
In the capital today, the Prime Minister convened his new cabinet, announcing a plan for a tax cut with a timeline. CTV's Judy Trin on who will benefit and when.
It's my pleasure on behalf of the Cabinet to sign this order to deliver that tax cut.
With the stroke of a pen, the Prime Minister ordered his government to deliver a middle-class tax cut by Canada Day.
We'll reduce taxes for the 22 million Canadians who pay federal income taxes.
When Parliament resumes, the Liberal government will table legislation to reduce the lowest income tax rate by 1%. That will save a 2-income family up to $840 a year, a campaign promise estimated to cost $28 billion over 5 years. But the government isn't prioritizing drafting a budget this upcoming session.
We're going to be introducing a Ways and Means motions as we enter back into Parliament. We'll table legislation. Then there'll be a throne speech, and then we'll present a fall economic.
That means it will be months before we see the full picture about Canada's fiscal health, what investments are being made, what programs will be cut, or how much money needs to be borrowed.
This is a government that promises to be able to shift the needle when it comes to economic growth, when it comes to productivity. So we want to see the details.
The other big priority is to eliminate federal barriers to provincial trade. While that won't compensate for lost revenue from U.S. tariffs, it could add $200 billion to the Canadian economy each year.
That is a lot, and we need it right now. And I really believe this is a moment we can get it done.
Carney's government will have 20 scheduled days in Parliament to pass its tax cut bill and make good on its promise for free trade within Canada by the end of June. Omar.
All right, Judy Trin in Ottawa tonight. Ontario and Manitoba teamed up today to tear down trade barriers with a message to the rest of Canada.
I want to put out that warm and hearty handshake to all the other premiers to join us and do this work together.
And it'd be a shame if they weren't, because, you know, they're going to miss the train.
The neighboring provinces agreed to boost the flow of goods and services, including alcohol, and flow of labor between them. Ontario recently signed similar agreements with Nova Scotia and New Brunswick. Grocery giant Loblaw is warning shoppers of higher prices as inventory runs out. Loblaw has limited products affected by tariffs to a little over 1,000 items. That total will surpass 3,000 in the next week or two and could peak above 6,000 within 2 months. The new Energy and Natural Resources Minister says he plans to visit Western Canada, quote, very soon as Ottawa tries to reset its relationship with the West and work with the provinces to kickstart new energy projects. But as CTV's Michael Couture reports, not everyone in Cabinet appears to be on board.
Will I support building a pipeline? Yes, that's simple answer.
In a Canadian exclusive with CTV's chief political correspondent Vashi Capellos, Prime Minister Mark Carney said he wants Canada to be an energy superpower. But the former Environment Minister and current Quebec Lieutenant points out the federal government already bought the Trans Mountain pipeline.
That is only used right now about 40% capacity. So I think before we start talking about building an entire new pipeline, maybe we should maximize the use of existing infrastructure.
The comment drew criticism online from Alberta Premier Danielle Smith, who called Guilbeault destructive to Alberta's and Canada's economy and investment climate. While the only Liberal MP from Saskatchewan insists Cabinet is united.
We're third worldwide in terms of production of oil and gas. We want to build on that success.
Carney also says he wants to remove barriers that slow nation-building projects.
We will change things at the federal level that need to be changed in order for projects to move forward.
Does that include C69 or the emissions cap?
It could include both. Yeah, absolutely could include both.
The premiers of Alberta and Saskatchewan call C69 anti-oil and gas because it changed the environmental review process for energy projects. Now, Ontario's Doug Ford says the law hindered large-scale infrastructure.
It doesn't allow all of us across the country to move forward in a rapid speed, and I really appreciate what Prime Minister Carney mentioned yesterday.
Issues that prevent nation-building projects will be part of the discussion when the Prime Minister meets with the premiers next month in Saskatoon. Omar.
All right, Mike, thank you. And late tonight in a statement to CTV News, Alberta's premier says she is glad to hear Carney's comments on pipelines, but is, quote, alarmed by Guilbeault's calling the two comments mixed messages. Another key item on the government's agenda is affordable housing, not just an issue in major urban centres, but also Canada's smaller cities. CTV's Sarah Plowman has more on that and how the new housing minister responded when he was asked if prices needed to go down.
In a common space, people share a common problem. Housing feels unaffordable. Lalith Corgadage bought 2 years ago and paid $40,000 over asking.
It's not affordable, actually.
25-year-old Grace Coulter moved back with her parents to save.
And I feel like I should be in a different spot in my life right now.
This realtor sees it every day.
It's near impossible for young people to buy their first home. Oftentimes they're required to have assistance from family.
A new report says housing affordability in Fredericton has worsened at a dramatic pace. In 5 years, the median price of a home jumped 85% from $210,000 to nearly $388,000 last year. Buyers earning under $120,000 can afford far fewer homes. A family earning $60,000 that could once afford 60% of the listings can now only afford 3% of what's out there.
Post-COVID and during COVID, you've seen this large intra-Canadian migration from large urban centres into what you would consider smaller centres like Fredericton.
The increased demand for home ownership, and that increased demand for home ownership meant price went up.
Speaking with reporters about housing across the country, Canada's new housing minister was asked if he thinks prices need to go down.
No, I think that we need to deliver more supply, make sure the market is stable. It's a huge part of our economy. We need to be delivering more affordable housing.
It's not just houses that have gone up here, so has the cost of rent, making saving for a house even more difficult. Sarah Plowman, CTV News, Fredericton.
And staying in Atlantic Canada, it has been 1 week since authorities in Nova Scotia scaled back the search for 2 missing children.
Well, the mood of the community last week was more of hope, tension, apprehension, waiting for good news. And when that good news didn't come, I think the mood has changed to one of sadness for sure.
6-year-old Lily and 4-year-old Jack Sullivan disappeared on May 2nd, and despite a massive search, there's been no sign of the children ever since. Even though the search has been scaled back, the RCMP says it's still pursuing multiple layers to the investigation. A Vancouver mother is demanding answers tonight after her young son came home from school in clothes that weren't his. What shocked her even more is the child's answer when his mom asked him how he got them. CTV's BC Bureau Chief Andrew Johnson explains.
These were the underwear that I sent him in. As you can see, they're completely clean.
Jasmine Barahona sent her 6-year-old son to school in this outfit. He came home in this, clothes she's never seen before, right down to new underwear he apparently didn't put on himself.
I'm like, where did you get these clothes? And he said, an adult. He said, a man took me to the basement and changed him in a closet. I immediately tried to hold my cool.
Barahona's son is Indigenous and on the autism spectrum. The family called the school and met with the principal the next day. Barahona says she was told a substitute education assistant was working that day, but the principal couldn't offer any more details.
I want you to tell me who was in the basement with my child. That's it. That's all I want. And if something did go further than what we're assuming, then I want justice.
A week later, she still doesn't know exactly what happened or why someone would swap her child's clothes, and BC's Premier acknowledged today that's not good enough.
Can't even imagine what I would do if my child came home and told me a story like that. Parents deserve answers quickly, and if they can't get them, the police need to be there, and that's what's happening.
Vancouver police have confirmed they are working with the school board, and the board tells CTV an employee has now been placed on leave. Barahona says she won't be sending her son back here until she can get an answer to what she feels is a pretty simple question. Andrew Johnson, CTV News, Vancouver.
Police in Alberta are warning of the real-life risks from a toy water gun game popular with high school students. Here's CTV's Kathy Lee with what parents need to know about a growing trend among teenagers.
I'm so sorry. The game is simple and making waves with high school students across Canada, often played as a way to celebrate their final year.
You have to download the app and make an account and everything.
You get a target, so somebody you have to shoot with a water gun.
Senior Assassin is a dynamic cat and mouse chase and ends with one person standing.
Some people just go crazy over it. I've seen so many people they plan, at 9 p.m. let's camp out at this guy's house.
It's a $5 entry fee, and I think the prize pool is $700. It gets pretty fun, but it gets also pretty intense.
Intense to the point a school in Guelph, Ontario was locked down and a student arrested at gunpoint after complaints about teens having guns. The firearms were actually painted water guns. Youths playing Senior Assassin with what looked to be firearms have been reported in other cities in Ontario, prompting some police departments across the country, including in Calgary, to issue warnings, urging players to think twice about how they play.
The police will respond appropriately. The fear is that maybe the youth doesn't take it as seriously, and we just don't want anyone to get hurt.
You must play the game responsibly.
The app creators addressed the issue on social media.
If you or anyone in your game uses a water gun that closely resembles a real firearm in shape or color, your game will immediately be removed from Splash.
Some school boards also working with police and reminding families that toy weapons and water guns are prohibited on school property. The effort to ensure the students' safety.
I think you just got to play smart and play by the rules.
While still having fun. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Calgary.
Coming up.
Significant espionage and surveillance problems.
The Trump supporters speaking out against a luxury gift. Plus, what happened to the teen who drove off a pier. Israeli airstrikes on Gaza have left at least 70 people dead, according to local health officials. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry says that death toll includes 22 children. The attacks came a day after Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said there was, quote, no way he would halt Israel's offensive before Hamas is defeated.
We cannot allow the continued use of food as a political tool.
New Foreign Affairs Minister Anita Anand criticized Israel for blocking food shipments to Gaza today. Israel has sealed off the Gaza Strip since March. The UN and other aid agencies say it has left Gaza on the brink of famine, but Israel denies it, accusing Hamas of stealing aid meant for civilians. Another warm welcome for U.S. President Donald Trump on day 2 of his Middle East trip, playing both the deal maker and the diplomat in Qatar. But as CTV's Washington Bureau Chief Joy Malbon reports, he's facing some growing backlash back home.
From camels to Cybertrucks and a red carpet, a lavish rollout for the U.S. president in Qatar. But before getting down to U.S. deal-making, Donald Trump, the diplomat. He met with the new Syrian president, once described by the U.S. as a terrorist. Trump praised the rebel leader who overthrew the Assad regime.
Attractive guy, tough guy, strong pass, very strong pass.
Trump lifted sanctions on the war-torn nation, sparking celebrations in Syria and a new start in U.S. foreign relations. And the request came, Trump says, from the Saudi crown prince.
Oh, what I do for the crown prince.
In Doha, Trump got down to business, signing investment deals, including selling Boeing jets to Qatar Airways.
It's the largest order of jets in the history of Boeing. It's over $200 billion. But 160 in terms of the jets. That's fantastic.
The White House correcting this. It's actually $96 billion. But it's this plane that's causing controversy. A jumbo jet luxury gift from Qatar, known as the Flying Palace. Trump wants to replace Air Force One, but the Constitution forbids presidents accepting anything of value. Trump pushing back.
With the United States of America, I believe that we should have the most impressive plane. Why wouldn't I accept the gift? We're giving to everybody else.
All of it raising serious ethical and security concerns, even from the president's own party.
I also think that the plane poses significant espionage and surveillance problems. So we'll see how this issue plays out, but I certainly have concerns.
Tonight, the Qatari government says it's not trying to get anything from the United States. Offering the luxury jet is simply an act of love. Omar?
All right, Joy, thank you. Still ahead, why a fast-moving sector is suddenly stuck in the slow lane. A teen driver walked away with just minor injuries after a scare at a marina in New York State. The moment was captured on video when the car lurched forward and was about to plunge into the water when it turns and lands safely on the floating dock below. Police described the teenager as inexperienced, and a heavy tow truck was called in to get the vehicle out of the marina. Once the spark of Canada's auto sector with billions in planned investment, the electric vehicle push has stopped charging ahead. CTV's Adrian Gabriel lifts up the hood on the key challenges.
Canada's EV industry is experiencing more of a short circuit than a wide-scale power outage, according to experts.
I do think that EVs are the future. I think this is where we are going.
But there's no denying that EV sales are slumping in Canada to begin 2025. The federal government has parked its EV rebate program. Ontario, for example, hasn't offered consumers incentives since 2018.
The question is, will it pick up? Because a lot of it because there is no incentives.
Ottawa's newly appointed Minister of Industry is now facing multiple questions on the struggling Canadian industry that just 12 months ago was proceeding full speed ahead.
I've already been in contact with the CEOs of GM, Ford, and also Stellantis. My goal is to be able to have good conversations with them before the end of the week.
Stellantis' Nexstar Energy joint venture to open Canada's first large-scale battery plant in Windsor, Ontario, is on track to begin cell production later this year. Volkswagen and PowerCo are scheduled to open North America's first EV battery cell gigafactory in St. Thomas, Ontario. The company told CTV News they remain on track for initial production in 2027, followed by a demand-based ramp-up of commercial production. Though the batteries scheduled to be built on Canadian soil are for VW vehicles being made in South Carolina and Tennessee. Canada's large-scale auto infrastructure investments are now facing stiff headwinds due to Trump's tariff storm.
The board of Volkswagen is going to come and say, okay, what's happening with us? Are we still keeping with the same decision? Should we postpone also and wait?
Electric vehicle insiders say investment in Canada's EV supply chain is only part of the solution. Unique consumer incentives are also necessary, especially if Ottawa is serious about achieving its goal of exclusively selling zero-emission vehicles by 2035. Adrian Gobriel, CTV News, Toronto.
And a day after Honda delayed a major EV project in Ontario, Industry Minister Mélanie Joly posted that the government has been assured no jobs will be lost. Still ahead, a lasting legacy, the impact an educator is having years after she passed away. We leave you tonight with a special tribute to a special teacher in Kleinburg, Ontario, who is still teaching, even though she is no longer here. Tanya Khan was just made vice principal, but passed away in 2013 before her role took effect. The mother of three died of a brain aneurysm at the age of only 38. But today, 12 years later, this moment proved she is still making a difference. The ribbon cutting marking the official inauguration of the Tanya Khan Public School. Her former students saying Ms. Khan was committed to community, breaking down barriers and tolerance.
This honor means that even though she's not here, her message continues to guide the next generation.
Having a school named after her, a way her husband believes her work will never be forgotten.
It's a symbol of her compassion, her integrity, and her hope for a brighter future.
The lasting legacy of a teacher who, even in death, is inspiring valuable lessons for life. What an impact. And that's a snapshot of this Wednesday. For all of us at CTV National News, thank you for watching. Good night and see you tomorrow.